Good morning. Indonesia is moving its capital from Jakarta to East Kalimantan. It is ambitious. Some say it's one of the most ambitious projects for a government in history. It will cost $34 billion. It will be big. 2 times the size of New York City, 3 times the size of Singapore, 4 times the size of Jakarta itself. It promises to be green, it promises to be inclusive, and it promises to be the most sustainable city in the world. But like all bold, ambitious projects, it's not without controversy. But Bambang, good to have you with us.
Thank you, Haslinda.
First of all, it is moving its capital, but it chose to be in Kalimantan, which is a 2-hour flight away, about 1,300 kilometers away. Why Kalimantan?
The movement of the capital, by the way, is not a standalone policy. It's part of the vision of Indonesia in 2045, when we celebrate our 100 years of our independence. So this is one of the catalysts for us to move beyond the middle-income country and to graduate from middle to be a high-income country. That's number one. So if you see on the map, it's on the center of Indonesia, right? And we need also to create another center of economic growth for the future, so that all the economic growth will be equitably shared by Indonesia from east to west, from north to south. Yeah. And another thing is that Jakarta, of course, you know all the problems and challenges of Jakarta and Java, because right now all the economy is dominated by Java, all the people live in Java, and we have to also, to some extent, make some equally distribution of not only population, but also the economy. So all in all, we need...
The capital is sinking as well.
We try to fix that one. But we need another center of economic growth. That's, I think, that the main reason why we moved there. And also a more equitably distribution of wealth in Indonesia.
What's the traction you're getting right now? It is a $34 billion project. Where are you in terms of funding?
I'm glad to share with you that we are still on the track to achieve our first target in 17th of August 2024, when we will have the ceremony of our Independence Day in Nusantara. Right now, if you go to the field, by the way, I would like to invite any of you to come, because I believe that seeing is believing, right? We are now on the construction, is about 50% already on the infrastructures, such as dam, toll road, and also the VVIP airport. We just had a groundbreaking last week, actually. And glad to share with you that also the private sector has already come. And we expect that until the end of this year...
And that's private sector within Indonesia?
Within Indonesia, but some of them also working with foreign investors in behind, right? For their source of finance, for example. But if you see the diversity of investment, 4 hospitals so far, about 5 hotels so far, 2 big malls that we would like to have also, 1 equestrian, 1 also private club, football club that would like to move there. So it's not only about infrastructure being building and others. What I would like to emphasize here that we need the people itself, because a city is about the people. So once we can make them very comfortable to live there, so the city not only being livable, but also lovable.
During our last conversation, we talked about how it's been difficult to attract foreign investors. Have you made progress since then? Are they going further than the LOIs?
It's a bit slow than we expect, of course. I must honestly telling you this.
Why is that, Pa?
I don't know. Some reasons they would like also to see a more detail on their financial calculations, on their feasibility study, for example. It's not like the domestic investor that they can come anytime that they would like to come to visit us in Nusantara. For those who are coming from outside, they need some, really allocate some times. But some of them right now is progressing very well at this point. We are going to see a PPP in the apartment, for example, on the housing and others. And I do hope that by Q1 2024, we will see some groundbreaking by the foreign investors in Nusantara.
And where are they coming from? Would it be like Singapore, Japan, Korea?
Yeah.
Where are these foreign investors from?
I think the 5 largest investors that so far have some process with us is coming from Singapore, from Malaysia, from China, from Korea, and also from Japan. But we receive about 22 countries' interest via their LOI, letter of intent. So we do hope that there will be also some coming.
The new capital, of course, is called Nusantara. We talked about how it promises to be the most sustainable city in the world, 100% renewable energy. Where are you with that? Because when we talk about renewable energy within Indonesia, it accounts for 11% currently. What's the progress? What's the plan?
The good thing of having this city coming almost, I'm not saying 100% from scratch, yeah, but almost from scratch, is that we can try to implement all the latest concept, yeah, the green concept, Spawn City, for example, nature-based solutions that on the how we will try to manage the hydrological condition. Yeah, I can share with you also that next month in Dubai on COP28, this is a climate change gathering, the largest one. We are going to launch what we call the locally determined contributions. Yeah, if the national determined contribution is at the national level, usually we call it NDC, but Nusantara will have its own version of city level of how we will cope with the climate change. That will outline the blueprint and the roadmap, mitigation, adaptation measures that we will take until 2045, when we declare ourselves, we have a target in 2045 to be the first city in Indonesia that carbon neutral. And that is ahead of Indonesia. Indonesia has a 2060, but for us, we set the target in 2045. So that's on the climate change, Haslinda. Another thing is on the SDG, because we also in the middle of finalizing what we call the voluntary local review. Some of you know about the voluntary national review. That is the action plans of the nations of the country to achieve all the targets in SDG at national level. But Nusantara will have our own version at the city level. We call it VLR. And hopefully by Q1 next year, we are going to launch that one. Not only that, we also would like to have what we call the nature positive plan. This is about biodiversity. We would like to comply with the Kunming and Montreal Protocol on how we will enrich our biodiversity. In the past, Indonesia is being accused by having a lot of deforestation. And right now, we still have that one, and we try to tackle that one. But in Nusantara, we are going to have reforestation instead. You mentioned that Nusantara is 4 times larger than Jakarta, but only 25% of the whole land will be developed, and that must be green. So the 65% will be acting as carbon sink. So we can, if we're lucky, go like, Bhutan to have a carbon negative. Finger crossed for that.
But environmentalists are still very concerned about deforestation because they take a look at the Amazon, for instance, the deforestation that's happening there, and Kalimantan is considered one of the lungs of the world. Should they be concerned about it?
Yes, that is right. And that is why we have so many support from international organizations to help us in really make the case that Nusantara will be a case study, a pilot project, so that our concern in Amazon, our concern in Congo, for example, that until right now, not so successful in terms of reversing deforestation, can be applied here in Nusantara.
So what are the lessons learned from the Amazon, from Congo, that Nusantara can implement and ensure that deforestation doesn't happen at the extent that we've seen so far?
Number one is the plan itself. Yeah, we need also transparency and accountability. And that is why organizations like WWF, the UN EP, by the way, last week, I received 13 UN bodies to back us up in our plan, not only about the forest, but also about others like women, empowerment and others. But going back to your questions again, there is a hope for everybody, the global community, that by having a good case in Nusantara, it can be replicated elsewhere. And one of the tools that we have is having what we call the nurseries. We have 1 nurseries right now that's up and running. It can provide us with 15 to 20 million of trees every year. So we try to inject that one into the production forest right now. That is not so good condition, but we do hope that we can have a tropical forest again in the next 15 to 20 years.
How will transportation be like in Nusantara? Because as far as I understand it, it's going to be 80% or 100% clean, EVs, public transportation, bicycles, and people will be walking to the places they want to get to.
Walking is the highest, most important priority for us. So that's why we have what we call the Titian Warga. Titian Warga meaning that uninterrupted pedestrian facilities in the city. Then public transport, because one of our KPI is 80% of all trips should be done with the public transport. And all of them must be green. We are not going to allow any non-green vehicles to come to the city. We are going to provide them with the park and ride. And then there will be e-bus that provide people some connectivity and mobility to the city. So all in all, we also would like to have the power generations by renewable energy. Last week we have a groundbreaking of 50 megawatt of solar farm. This is the first one. It will be coming later on with others. So combination between solar, hydro, and also to some extent we try to have wind, but still on the proof of concept at this moment. Yeah.
So is that where foreign investors can look to invest, put their money, and help it grow?
Yes. One area is that the renewable energy. Other area is on the smart city that usually many investors would love to come to develop things in Nusantara, and also in transportation. But in transportation, we are going to have the intelligent transportation system. So everything must be having some sort of like smart transportations with AI, IoT, and we also have some proof of concept with Hyundai Motor Corporation in the Sky Taxi. It's a big drone with 4 passengers that we do hope also provide some connectivity between cities nearby in Kalimantan. Yeah.
It's been a difficult journey for countries intending to move their capital. I'm sure that not that many countries out there, but cities wanting to be green and be sustainable. What are some of the lessons, takeaways from your own experience in trying to develop Nusantara?
I think we must have a consistent and also a good plan for that. That's number one. And we try to do our best to combine all the good concepts all together. But at the end of the day, it's the people who will be executing and who will be living in the city. And they are the ones that will create the ambience. They are the ones that will create the greenness of the city itself. So back to the basic, Plato says that a city what it is because the people what they are, right? So coming back to that again, so that is why our tagline is that not only a livable city, but we would like also to be a lovable city.
What should investors be excited about, Nusantara?
I think there are so many things that we must develop, right? From A to Z. You create a city, it's a multifaceted, a multi-dimensional, multi-aspect, yeah? But we would like to still have and hold the principle of green, the principle of smart, the principle of inclusive, resilient, and sustainable. Ample opportunities for investors to work with us together, either from PPP concept, public-private partnership, creative financing, for example, and also the direct financing. Yeah? We work with multilateral agencies also to provide us with some comfort to the investors, with some guarantee from them, for example, Asian Development Bank, Islamic Development Bank, also AIIB now already expressed their interest to work with us in trying to work together and facilitate the investor, especially private investor, to come.
It is a big year for Indonesia in 2024. The elections are coming. 3 candidates out there. Should investors be worried about policy continuity?
I don't think so, because this is not the first time we have the elections, right? And all the candidates right now, no one of them saying that they don't want to continue this project or program. It is a transformation for Indonesia. It is something that we as a nation would like to have in 2045.
It is a costly project.
And it's a costly project, but it's not impossible to develop that one. So with all the positions of the candidate, I think that I believe that it will be sustainable in the future.
So there's been commitment from all three candidates that they will continue with Nusantara.
And also because the investors already come. They are not coming if there are already some risk there and they cannot manage the risk, right? So they come from the profit. So it demonstrates that this is a profitable project and program in the future.
We look forward to Nusantara.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Bambang Susantono, we thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, please.
Thank you.